A lot of boxing fans here online are giving Edgar Berlanga a lot of credit, calling him great for going all 12 rounds with Canelo and for simply surviving. I'm hearing a lot of fans saying that Edgar Berlanga's stock has risen and he deserves credit for taking the fight to Canelo. But if you ask me, Edgar Berlanga did not seem to have given it his all. To me, he just seemed to be surviving throughout the whole fight, and especially after the third round knockdown. Edgar Berlanga seemed to be real gun shy and real timid. He was scared to get countered. He was scared to let his hands go. And the reason I know that Edgar Berlanga was playing it safe was because if you go back and watch the last round or two of the fight, Edgar Berlanga started to let his hands go a lot more than he did in the previous rounds. Everybody that was watching the fight, including myself, said the same thing. We were all in agreement. We were all like, damn, he should have been doing that 4 or 5 rounds ago. What's the point of doing that now? You know? I mean, late is better than never, but goddamn, Berlanga, you're the younger, bigger guy. And not once do I remember Edgar Berlanga forcing Canelo into the ropes from applying pressure and throwing combos. Not once. But you know who I do remember being on the ropes? Quite a bit, actually. Edgar. It's amazing to me. It truly is, man. It's truly amazing to me to watch these way bigger and these way younger fighters get walked down like that and beat up by a smaller and older man than themselves. It amazes me. It truly does. But I guess in Edgar's defense, he did tell us all that he was going to run. I mean, he didn't say it just straight up, but he did tell us that the game plan was to fight behind the jab, and you know, he was going to fight a smart fight. He was going to use his high ring IQ and all this good stuff. I mean, all that sounds good, but all that was code for he's going to be running all fight. He was going to run all night, and he kept his word. That's what he ended up doing. He just was surviving. Was Berlanga as bad as Charlo in his fight versus Canelo? No. He did do better than Charlo, but barely. So those are my thoughts on Berlanga's performance. Overall, I thought he just tried to survive. Not once did he seem to try to overpower, use his size and his weight advantage over the smaller fighter. To me, Edgar Berlanga just did a lot of just back foot bitching it all night. Then he was stationary at some points, or when he was stationary rather, he was just a punching bag. You know, it is what it is. But just because you got taken to school by Alvarez doesn't mean that it's over for Berlanga. You have to remember that there are levels to this sport. And just because you lost to the boss of the division doesn't mean that there's not other fights for you in store. You know, I don't think it's over for the kid. I think he's just beginning, actually. I like to see Berlanga take on Caleb Plant still. I still think that's a good fight. Yo, Edgar Berlanga talked a good one, man. He said that he was going to do this and he was going to do that. He was going to knock Canelo out in the 6th round. And yeah, I know he was just trying to sell the fight, but at the same time, I just thought maybe he meant some of those words. But anyways, now I want to pivot on over to the winner of the fight, Saul Canelo Alvarez, and give you my thoughts on Saul's performance. Let me start off by saying this. Canelo is the only fighter I've ever known that gets hated on for going 12 rounds in a fight. I mean, seriously, this guy was the aggressor all night. He walked the much bigger and younger fighter down, He outworked the guy. He outlanded him and overall outperformed him. And Canelo still gets hate and criticism for it. A lot of people online are saying that this is another disappointing performance from Canelo because he didn't get the knockout. And to that, I would say, well, yeah, I mean, the guy is past his prime, you know. But even yet and still, Canelo, a past his prime Canelo is still better than a lot of what's out there. Yeah, a well past his prime Canelo is still better than most fighters in their prime, in my opinion. What do I think that Canelo does next, or where he goes from here? You know, I think there's a lot of options left for Canelo. But what I want to see personally next is, of course, a David Benavidez fight. I think that Canelo versus David Benavidez should fight next. And as crazy as I might sound, I got Canelo beating David Benavidez because David Benavidez throws a lot of punches, you know, punches in bunches, high volume punchers. So that gives Canelo a lot of chances to catch him with a counter or counters. That's Canelo's game. He's a counter puncher. And Benavidez is a big target. You know, that's a lot of body, big target to hit. But if not David Benavidez, there's still a lot of options out there. You know, there's still Terrence Crawford. I would still like to see the Terrence Crawford fight. And also, Canelo mentioned a crossover fight versus Conor McGregor. That would do great numbers as well. Before closing out this video, I wanted to discuss the co-main event feature bout between Erislandy Lara and Danny Garcia for the WBA world title. So my thoughts on this fight were that, I mean, it was a lot of the same stuff, a lot of repetitive stuff from both fighters. I mean, Erislandy Lara was hitting Danny Garcia with the jab, keeping Danny Garcia out of range, and Danny Garcia struggling to do just about anything. And so he quit. You know, there's no other way to put it. Danny Garcia quit when he realized there was nothing that he can do with Lara. Danny Garcia's dad threw in the towel, and that was that. Garcia should have stayed out of that ring that night. He just didn't seem to have any business in that ring. Garcia's cooked, in my opinion. I think Danny Garcia is washed. If you ask me where Danny Garcia goes from here, I'd say retirement, man. I say retire. This was Danny Garcia's first fight in 2 years, and if I'm being honest, it showed. And since I'm keeping it 100% with y'all, this is what Danny Garcia gets for being an opportunist. I knew that there just wasn't something right here. And I'll show you guys. I'll tell you guys what I mean. In what other sport can you come off of a 2-year layoff, and for your first fight back, you get a shot at a world title? Only in boxing. You know? And PBC. You know, this is just PBC doing PBC type shit. Danny Garcia, being a PBC type guy, or being a PBC guy, he goes along with the scheme. You know, he thought to himself, oh, this is a golden opportunity. I could come off of a 2-year layoff and cut all those other guys, and, you know, cut my way in front of the front of the line, in front of all those guys in the rankings. I get a chance at the world title against a 41-year-old Erislandy Lara. But you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, I guess, because Garcia went in there that night and got cooked by a pawpaw, by somebody's grandfather. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for this one. Let me know what y'all think down in the comment section. And once again, this has been your boy O-Dog Boxing in the Mouth. This